Well, good afternoon. I'm showing you here just a series of little clips, a little sampling of what I'm going to be doing in this video. And I'll tell you, this is not my traditional Bob Ross stuff that you're used to seeing me do. I am doing something entirely different today, and I realize most of you are not going to be interested in this at all, and that's okay. But some of you, it may perk your interest into trying something different with me. So let's just go ahead and get to the easel, and we'll get started. Well, I absolutely do not have a clue as to what I'm doing, so you're all going to just have to follow along with me, and we'll just try and do this and learn it together. And so this is called Imprematura. And what that means is it just means a stain or a first color that goes on your canvas. So what I did here, you can just faintly see that I have a grid. And then I put my painting on here. Now the reason I thought this was a pretty picture, but it was a very light, bright color. And I wanted to make it more realistic, so I thought I'd try this Imprematura and just kind of see what effect it would have. So what I did here is I took, if you can see this, I just took burnt sienna and an equal amount of liquin. And now, and I don't like using thinner, and I hardly ever use it, but I'm going to use it today because I just want to thin this out. And so I'm going to put probably about a double portion of thinner into this mix. And then I just want to take, this is an old chip brush, a scrubby, and let's just go ahead and mix this up. And you just want this really watery, just very, very thin. And let's bring it up to the canvas here and see what we have. Now this is very messy, so if you notice, maybe you can't see it, but I put a paper towel down here at the bottom to catch any drippings, because I'm sure there's going to be a lot of drippings. So let's just go ahead and start up here. And like I said, this is going to be very, very messy. So we just want to start just blocking in. You can see it's just running down, which is fine. It's not going to hurt anything. And we're just going to cover this whole canvas. And what I used to do my, my drawing is I just took a very thin, light mix of just acrylic paint. And I sort of drew my picture on with acrylic paint. So you can see how sloppy this is. But that's okay. We like making messes, don't we? It's kind of fun, something different to do. And just scrub this in. You can scrub right over this drawing. It's not going to hurt anything. And I might have to make just a little more, but I don't know, maybe we can make this stretch. I'm going to let this sit for 20 minutes, 15 to 20 minutes. So just so it starts to dry a little bit. And then I'm going to show you the next step. So I actually let this sit now for about 20 minutes because it wasn't really quite dry. But now it may be too dry. But anyway, this is called the wipeout stage. Now once you have this on, you're going to start wiping the canvas, and you want to just take off this top layer. Just enough so you can see maybe your sketch underneath. And you know, every painting is going to be different. Everybody's picture is going to be different. So just do the best you can. Just follow along. So I can pretty much see my sketch here. And I think maybe just a little bit more drying, like up here in the sky. Definitely some here in the snow. And you can wipe this out to any degree that you like. And you can see that it just really starts to come alive once you start doing this. Up here in the clouds, I want highlights to show in the clouds. Sorry, my canvas is wiggling. Keep turning that paper towel over so you get clean edges. This was a cloud here. And now I'm going to, because I'm going to actually be touching that a little bit more, I want to put on a rubber glove because I'm going to be dipping into thinner. So just as this is for a little bit of extra added highlight if you want that. So I'm just pouring a little bit of thinner in my cap here. Just crumple that paper towel up, dip into your thinner. And then wherever you want to have extra highlights, this is just a very rough sketch. Oh, this is pretty cool. If I get quiet, it's because I'm concentrating. A little more white in this area. And just work these back and forth. Let's see what I'm down in here. see, we want to just highlight the edges of these land areas a little bit. And let's see, bushes back here. Isn't that interesting? And we had some bushes here. Just want to blot that out. I've been trying to watch a lot of YouTube videos on this kind of painting, and I ran across this one fellow. His name is Lane Johnson. Oh my gosh, his work is incredible. He does paintings that are taller than I am, so they are just gorgeous. I would encourage you to check out his site. I'll put a link in the description below so that you can check on his tutorials. Well worth the time spent to look at them. And well, there's a lot of people out there. If you just type in that word Imprematura, all kinds of people will come up that do this kind of painting. So I encourage you to look at a lot of different things. I think you'll find it kind of exciting. So what's going to happen from here is you're going to leave this set and just dry. You want it to dry overnight. And by tomorrow it should be completely dry, and we'll just come back and pick it up and go to the next step. Okay, it's been 24 hours now, and I've checked it. It's all completely dry, which is exactly what I want. So in my little container here now, I have some dark sienna and some Van Dyke brown, very dark color. And you know what? I'm going to add just a little bit of green to that too. So a little bit of sap green, and to that I want to add some liquid into this container. Now I'm just going to pour a very tiny bit, a little bit into each side, because that's what I'm going to be using as my medium. And I'm not using any more thinner. I'm done with the thinner now. It's just the liquid and the paint itself. And so what I want to do now is take my brush, and I've got just a little slant brush, small one, about probably a 3/8 brush, and dipping into a little liquid first, and then the burnt sienna, and I'm just going into this mountain to start with. I want to do the lower sides, or the back half of the mountain, which would be the shadow side of the mountain, and I'm just going to start building up this color. Now I may do more than one coat of this, or maybe I'll just leave it this one coat. I don't know. We'll see as we get a little bit further along into the painting. But right now, I just want to fill in the darker side, or the underside, the lower part of the mountain. Now your mountains may not look exactly like mine, and that's okay, but you just figure out on your mountain where would be the darkest area. And if you have a picture to go by, that's great. If you don't, if you're just making this up in your head, you can just figure it out where the darkness would be. And keep refilling with a little bit of the liquid, because that's what's going to make your painting dry fast. And just sort of blend that out. There'd be a little bit down here in these two corners. Make sure not to have it too thick in any one area. I want to make this is just as smooth as possible. I don't want to have any hard edges or anything. I want it blended out very softly. A hard edge will make a kind of a shiny spot or a lump on the painting. I definitely don't want that. So now I'm going to switch over to my dark Van Dyke brown with a little bit of sap green in it, just a little bit of sap green. And then dipping into the liquid too, I'm just going to start making this tree here. And I just used this little slant brush because I thought that was a good brush for blocking in these trees. Now, this, like I said, this is a small painting. This is only a 12 by 16. And so these trees aren't very big, and so using the great big Ross brushes will not work with these. They're just too big. So I'm using a tinier brush. So, and you don't have to use a slant brush. If you want to use a flat brush or a fan brush or whatever kind of a brush that you're comfortable with, that's what you have to work with. Well, let's do a little one here. And another one right here. And this one here, I want to bring this one down right to the water's edge. And let's do a little collage right here. And I'm just going back and forth, just pulling my brush out a little bit to the left and a little bit to the right, just kind of to block in a tree shape. And this right here is probably my darkest area in the whole painting. It's just the trees. You know what? I've been doing Bob Ross paintings now for, oh my gosh, going on 30 years. If you say it fast, it is not too long. But yeah, I've been doing this for a long, long time, and I know you guys are so used to me doing the Bob Ross paintings. But, you know, I just wanted to deviate a little bit. I sometimes get a little bored with things. I just want to do something different. And I thought, I saw this and I thought, wow, this is really different. This is something I want to pursue. And it's just so different in that, you know, with a Bob Ross painting, you're painting so fast. I mean, like, I need to get these videos done in a half hour. Well, that is really quick. I mean, it does take me longer than that. By the time I'm through with my editing, I can get it down to a half hour. But they really do take longer than a half hour. But the Bob Ross painting, you know, he made it so easy, so anybody could do it. Anybody could pick up a brush and just start painting right off the bat. Well, that's not so true with this kind of painting. This, what I'm doing now, is just a very slow painting. I'm ready for something different. I want to take my time. I want to make something beautiful and something a little bit more realistic. And I think that's what intrigues me about this, is that it is not fast. It's just very, very slow painting, and it's like the drying time overnight, it kind of gives you a little breather. That's wonderful. I love that. And it just, I don't know. It's just, I think it's going to be fun exploring this. I hope some of you are going to follow along and do it too. You might find that you like it. Who knows? Oh. So I'm really excited about it. So I've got the evergreens finished now. So I want to just make a little bit of a landline down here because that would probably be a bit darker. I'm still using my slant brush. And there's going to be shadows down here, but you know what? I think I'm just going to wait and do these shadows later after I get more into the painting. I don't like that smudge there. Let's fix that. Okay. I want to add one more tree here. I think 3 would look better than 2. But I may take it out later, who knows. I just ad lib as I go along. Now this was actually a Susan Shiwi brush. And if you don't have that manufacturer, then just use any kind of a brush you have, like I said before. So this, oh, this is a crazy brush. This is a brush that I have just mutilated. I've cut into it, I've smashed it, I've just made it look like a really scrawny brush. And I thought, you know, this is just the perfect brush for doing bushes. And so we're going to try it out. I haven't used it yet, so this is my first experiment with it. So what I want to do here is just like touching the tops of the bushes here. This, I just want to not actually make bushes, but just kind of just give a little bit of a form or just a little touch of color. Just on the very tops of the bushes. And I want to do this on this back side here too, this way in the back, the distant trees. I'm kind of hopping and skipping around on this part. I'm not going in any particular order. I just, wherever I think I want a little bit of color, that's where I'm putting it. And back over to the other side here. Let's go in and put a little bit of this shrub on the tops of these bushes. Now after this step, I'm so anxious to go to the next one because that will be when I start putting in my color. And I don't know what colors I'm going to use yet. I've been kind of contemplating on that as I'm painting. I was thinking, you know, I always loved a lot of color like the pinks and the blues and purples and all that, yellow. I always like those brighter colors in the sky. But I'm thinking maybe for this one, I may not go so bright. I may go to the real colors of the sky. And start out with, oh, maybe a Prussian blue, I don't know. And anyway, just work my way down into a very pastel sky. So it'd be a darker at the top and working into a pastel on the bottom. So now I'm back in my dark color here, because what I want to do is fill in the shadow sides of these bushes, the underside, where the deepest color would be. Now your bushes are not going to be identical to mine, so look at your bushes, figure out where your light is hitting and where the shadow would be. And that's where you want to fill it in with a little bit of darkness. God created such beautiful landscapes for us. You know, one thing I'm so looking forward to, I really, since I discovered this little type of painting here, I am so excited about just grabbing a camera and going outside and just finding things to paint. I don't know what it might be, who knows? I have no idea. You know, when you're doing one of these kind of paintings here, a little trick that I've used that really works great is if you go into your photo editor, whatever photo editor you have on your computer, and you go into that and you click on, oh, I don't know, there's something there that'll give you different hues. It'll make it bright, it will make it tone it yellow, it'll tone it blue. But it'll also, there's one setting that is a black and white setting. And if you click on, put your photo into your editor first, and then you click on that black and white or brown or whatever color you choose, and you click on that and it turns your photo into black and white or a brown and white or whatever. And wow, it really works great, because what happens is that then you really see the light areas and the dark areas. So that's a little trick you might try on your computer. Probably a phone has it too. I don't use my phone, so I don't know about that, but I'm sure the phone must have some sort of a setting too. But if you do it on the computer, then the picture is going to be much larger and you'll be able to see it a lot better. I want to extend this ground area out here a little bit more. It just needs to be a little bit lower and more prominent. And let's fill in a little bit of this back edge here, the darkness in the bushes in the back area, the distant area. And now to this bushes on the right hand side. Just the lower areas. See, already you can see this is starting to look so realistic. I might like this painting so much I want to keep this one just as it is. I don't know, maybe do another one for you, because I really like the tones that it's coming out as. I'm still using just sap green and Van Dyke brown and a little bit of the Liquin. These dark colors, your Van Dyke brown and your greens, black, they all dry pretty fast all by themselves, but that Liquin will just help them dry a little bit faster. See how that brings things out so much more? I hope I don't flub it up when I do the colors. It's turning out so pretty just this way that I just might leave it. So I'm dabbing here because I see extra shiny spots, and so to me that means that the paint is maybe just a little bit too thick, and I don't want that. So yeah, let's go ahead and work on this back land area here. I want to bring that out a little bit more. Also accent the highness of it so it's further behind than the other island. Now, if you have a blender brush, a soft, what I call bunny brush, but it's a blender brush, if you have one of those and you want to, you can just take and slightly, very, very lightly, soften all these lines and any bright, shiny spots you see. I can't stress enough how light my touch is on this. I'm just barely, barely touching it at all. And as soon as I'm done with this step, you can believe I'm going to be washing my brushes with soap and water. I always use soap and water, even with if I have used a chemical, because soap and water will clean everything. I don't have to worry about getting my hands in solvents. So again, what we're going to do now is just let this dry for 24 hours. And then we'll come back and start on the color. So I have some colors here. I'm going to start in the sky. I have Alizarin Crimson, Prussian Blue, Dark Sienna, Phthalo Blue, and white, and also some Liquin down here. Just start out by going into some white, mixing a pile in the center of my plate and adding a little of the Liquin to it. I just want to make this mixture very smooth. I'm going to start out, I'll tell you what, let's start out in this corner. And I'm not doing a real heavy, heavy mixture here. I'm going to be doing actually 2 coats on this, but we're going to start out with this. And the reason is because this is going to be multiple layers and I want this very, very, very thin. Well, as you can see, I finally figured out a way to speed up my video. I don't know what I was doing wrong before, but it wasn't working, but I finally did figure it out. So as you can see, the video is going faster, so you don't have to spend all your time watching me. What I'm doing, I'm starting out by going around these clouds and just giving them shape and form. I don't have a real good definition on my drawing, but if you do have a good definition, that's great. And so anyway, just keep going around these cloud shapes and just in and out and making them very nice looking. This brush I'm using is called a Mimic Hog brush. It's a number 6 bright. It's a flat brush, and it's kind of a cross between bristle brush and a synthetic brush, meaning that the bristles are soft enough to be flexible and yet firm enough to really keep their shape. I love this brush. I bought it for water mixable oils, and that's mostly what I have used it for. And it really does a fantastic job on water mixables. But I like the way it's working on this too. So I'm just filling in all these shapes exactly like I want it, adding just a slight bit more white as I come down because I want the sky to get lighter down low. And I'm just going to keep on doing this. I'm just going to let you watch for a minute. Your painting is not going to be exactly like mine, so you'll just have to ad lib and figure out where exactly you want yours, where you want your blue in the sky to be. And I'm using, like I said, Prussian blue, a little crimson, a little white. And I'll tell you what, if you don't have that particular color, you can use a different color. It'll be just fine. I'm sure it will still look absolutely lovely. You know, not everybody has the same colors as I do, and there's so many different brands and manufacturers, and it seems like they're all different. You can buy Prussian blue in a different brand, and it'll look totally different when you put it on your canvas. So anyway, adding a little more white as we get lower into the sky, because I want the sky brighter down low. And as you notice, watch how I'm working on the trees here. I'm kind of making the trees more narrow. I'm going in quite a ways on those trees. And the reason being, when I put the trees in, they're going to expand. They're going to get a little larger. So I want to have that leeway. I want to have that extra space to work with. So just adding that white down low. And let's hop over here to the center, the under part of this cloud here. I'm probably going to be finding clouds quite a challenge because I have never ever done the clouds this way. And so I'm kind of looking forward to, I'm dreading it, I'm scared of it, but yet I'm looking forward to doing this. Now just kind of start blending those colors out some, mixing your blues. And as you notice, I'm going up into the clouds too and just kind of putting a little blue in there. That's because I don't want any hard edges. I want the edges to be very, very soft so that when I blend other colors into it, it'll look really nice. It'll look like it's graduating. And let's go down to this cloud down here. And again, work into those trees. You know, sometimes you can get in such a rut with painting. It's just really fun to just try something new and different. Just keep on blending that out. And as time goes on, I may be changing these clouds some. I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. I wonder if any of you have ever tried this Imprematura painting. If you have, would you leave a comment below about your experience? If you liked it, if you didn't like it, if it's something you want to try. I would be curious to know. So keep adding a little more white down here at the base to make your sky as light as you want it down there. I think this is starting to look really good. I don't know until I actually get through with this part here, but we'll see. And blend in those two blues together, or whatever color you're using in your sky. And I can see right now, I think I'm going to change the trees on the right side and probably the center trees too. Looking at this, I've got another idea that I think might look really good. I don't know, I'll have to see. Now I want to just add a little bit darker color in these upper corners here. blend down into the lighter blue. It's a little bit deeper shade across the top here. You just want to keep drawing your eye into the center of the painting. And I'm still using a lot of the Liquin. It's amazing how that will make the paint dry overnight, and you can just paint right over it. It's just wonderful. You know, the thing I love about that the most, I think, is that you don't make mud this way, because each layer is drying before you apply another layer. And so many times I hear complaints of people painting the Bob Ross way, and they complain because they're mud mixing, and mud mixing is no fun, and it's hard. Once you get mud, it's really hard to clean it up. So this way you don't have that problem, and it's great. So we've moved to the bottom, and it's a very dark mixture on the very bottom here, this in the water. Now I want you to notice here, watch as I'm doing this, as you come up in the water, each layer, each line is just a little bit lighter than the previous one. And I did that just by adding a little white. Now my main colors are Prussian blue, crimson, and white. But as I'm coming up in the water here, see each line, each section that I make is getting a little bit lighter. And just working around your cliff areas or your body, your land areas. Now I'm starting to add a little bit of phthalo blue to this mix. And now just phthalo blue and white. And just go under your land area. And this is considerably lighter than the bottom, as you can see. Just phthalo blue and white. I love phthalo blue. It's just, oh, it's just such a pretty color. So now the brush I'm using is called a scumbler. I got this brush at, oh, what was it, Michael's? Yes, I think maybe I mentioned that already. They only had two sizes, a large and a small. But I'll tell you, this is just a great little brush for blending colors or just any kind of brush, anything that you need a soft brush for. This brush really works great. The hairs are almost like a blender brush, like a bunny brush, you know, very, very soft. I'm just softening all my edges. I'm letting you see this whole series as I go along. I'm sure you won't watch the whole thing. You can always fast forward through a lot of this if you want to. But at least you'll get the basic ideas, and I'll have all the sections listed below once I get the video done. I don't know if I'll finish this whole video in one tutorial or not, because it's taking a very long time. So far I got days into it. Anyway, just lightly blend that water. So I want this to dry overnight again, and that's the beauty of this. Oh, no mud mixing. Okay, this is called a Susan Shiwi. It's a number 5 and it's a filbert brush, and it's a very soft synthetic brush. This is a great brush. I love Susan Shiwi brushes. They're all really nice. If you don't have a Susan Shiwi brush, then just use any kind of a filbert that is like a softer synthetic brush. I think a bristle would be too stiff for what I'm going to do next. So look for a soft brush. And it doesn't have to be a number 5, it can be a different size. If you're measuring it, it would probably be about a 3/8 inch. And you know you always measure by the furrow. So I'm taking some white, a little bit of the Liquin, a touch of blue, and a touch of brown. What I want to do is make a nice gray color. That turned out nice, that's good. And I did put just the tiniest speck of crimson in there. So now I want to start at the bottom of these clouds. I'm going to start a layer of cloud that is in the gray color. And this is just sort of a mid-tone. And I'm just going to show you this one cloud. I'm doing the other side of the painting too, but I'm just going to show you this one side because the video would be way too long if I showed you this whole thing. So now I'm going in with a slightly deeper color, just adding a little more blue, crimson, and a little touch of brown. Oh, and white. Go outside and look at clouds and just look at the different varieties. On different days, the cloud shapes will be totally different. Now with this blender brush, let's just go ahead and blend out the very bottom into the blue. Just make it really soft. Really soft. That's a nice color, I like that. Okay, now let's blend the two together, that mid-tone and the dark color. Just blend those two. Now going into the white, the light, the highlight of the cloud. This is a little white, and I've got just a tiny bit of yellow in it and just a tiniest speck of crimson. It's mostly just white and then just very little. Actually, yellow ochre is what I'm using. And just make your little cloud shapes. It helps if you have a photograph of clouds to go by. I don't have a photograph. I wish I did, but so I'm just kind of ad-libbing and just doing what I think looks good. Who knows? We'll find out in the end whether it looks good or not. Adding a couple of more highlight spots. I would love to master clouds. I think they are so beautiful, and every day is different and every cloud is different. You never see a duplicate or a repeat. So they are fascinating. So this is my soft bunny brush, my blender brush. This one is a 1.5 inch brush. No, it's a 1 inch, I'm sorry, 1 inch brush. But does a nice job blending. So here I'm adding just a tiny bit of crimson and yellow with a lot of white, and of course your Liquin, and then just blending that. I just wanted a little bit of a warmer tone in the cloud because the warmth wasn't coming through as much as I really wanted it to. And I also want to deepen the color underneath the cloud here and make it a little bit wider. Again, use a blender and just blend that out some. And let's do a few highlights down here too. And then work that paint back and forth. It should be dry enough where you don't have any problem. And now just a touch more of almost white. I have just the tiniest little touch of yellow in there. And adding a little bit more cloud. Just put those clouds wherever you think they should be. I'm going to be taking a lot more photos of clouds coming up real soon. So I stood back and looked at this and I thought, wow, this is really nice. I'm pleased with it. I really like it. And so I hope you get this far and then let it dry overnight and we'll go to the next step. Now it was purely my choice to wait or let this dry before I go on to the next step. It's not something that you have to do, but I'll tell you the reason I love doing it is because I can put my hand right on the painting and it doesn't hurt a thing. It's just fantastic. So anyway, we're going to get started on this mountain now. I'm so excited about the mountain. So what I'm doing is I'm taking a mix of the Prussian blue, red, and white. And I just want, see that horizon line? I want to get a color that is a purplish color that's a little bit lighter than, or excuse me, a little darker than the horizon. This is going to work perfect, just absolutely perfect. And I'm using what is that brush? The Royal Langnickel. I'm still using that for the purplish color. I really like those brushes. They are very, very nice. Anyway, as I do this mountain, I'm going to go ahead and start you out slow here, and then I'm going to speed it up while I talk. But I want you to notice what I'm doing here when I get into this mountain. The edges are a little bit, I want them jagged and not smooth like my original painting. You know, when I first put that first coat down, I just did the long streaks. Well, that's not going to be the finished mountain. So I'm just making jagged edges and just filling this mountain in. Now, while I'm doing this, I want to talk a little bit about Liquin. Do you know about Liquin? Have you ever used it? I tell you, it's a fantastic medium. It's used as a fast-drying medium. It is toxic. It does have a smell, so make sure you use ventilation with it. But it extends the oil painting, it thins it, and it speeds up the drying time, which can it's wonderful for when you're doing layered paintings like this. And oh gosh, you can use it for glazing, you can use it for fine details. Impasto, it just has a lot of uses. So it's a very good medium to use. If you don't have it, I would highly recommend that you get it. I know we, in our art classes and the Ross classes, we did a lot of wildlife, and we used a lot of liquid in those classes because it would dry probably, actually, dry enough to work on within an hour if you didn't use it too heavy. So anyway, I love it. Just try it. I think you'll like it too if you don't already have it. Let's talk a little bit about composition here. I want you to notice that when I started this painting, I did the furthest away place first, which would be the blue sky, and it's way, way off in the distance. And so I just went ahead and put that blue sky in, and then that next layer was the clouds. And then the next layer is the mountains. Now I did go ahead and put the water in this landscape early on. And I did that mainly because I wanted to be consistent with the colors that I was using, those particular shades of blue and bluish purplish color. So anyway, that makes a really good composition, is just working in layers. And as you come forward, things will get larger and they will get darker. So I want you to notice also in this mountain here that the color is, it's not a real dark color, but it's because I want it to look like it is off in the distance. So now I've just added a little bit of red and a little bit of blue and just a small amount of white still. And what I'm doing is just darkening what I would call the back side or the shadow side of the mountains. And I'm actually just trying to create this. I don't have a photo that I'm going by. This is just in my head what I would imagine where shadows would be and where highlights would be. So by putting it as dark in this way, I'm just putting it where I want it. and on your mountain, of course, your mountain is not going to be identical to mine, and it's going to be a little bit different, and that's what I expect. But oh my gosh, this is so cool. I may give it 2 coats. I don't know. I'll see when I get a little bit further along. So anyway, just get those shadows in. And just kind of, if you see any really spots that need to be blended out, blend them. Now that's a little 2-inch chip brush. Oh, excuse me, not 2 inch, it's a 1/2 inch. It's just a little tiny chip brush. My gosh, you can pick them up for pennies at the Home Depot or places like that, hardware store. And I just want to put mist in. And like I said, I was changing these trees down here on the bottom. So I want to mist this out here. And that is not a pure white. That is a white that has just a little bit of blue added to it. And of course, it'll pick up some of that dark undercolor underneath. Now with my blender brush, I'm just blending this out. If I see any spots that need to be smoothed, I'm just blending that out. And also, because I want it in the distance, I don't want any sharp edges up on the top here. So I'm just lightly going over the edges on the top of the mountain. So that makes them look even more distant, more far away. Cool. Okay, now the highlighting. Oh, this is probably the most fun part. So you can see I'm doing a close-up here. I slowed down the video so that you can really see what I'm doing. Now I'm back to that little 3/8 inch slant brush, a synthetic slant brush. And if you like a flat brush, if you like working with a flat brush better, then just go ahead and use a flat brush. But I really like this slant brush because I can twist it and turn it, and it does neat things for highlighting. So I'm guessing, and I'm putting my sun more towards the left side of the mountain. Actually, this doesn't have a bright sun anywhere in particular. It's probably more closer to the front left, if I could say anything at all. Anyway, using that little slant brush and very little paint and a lot of liquid, because I want this very, very thin, because I will be doing layers on this. So as you can see, I just put my brush in, and then I just kind of twist it, turn it, just make little lines here and there. Wherever you think highlights should be on your mountain, then I want you to put highlights there. Now just watch for a minute. I'll be quiet. See where I put those dark shadow areas? That's where I'm putting my highlights. This is not the final highlight. This is just a little bit of just to bring out the snow, the look of snow on there. Oh my gosh, I am totally loving this. Look at how that brown, that oh, I forgot the word already. Anyway, the brown underneath. Look how that's coming through on the Blue Mountain. That is fabulous. Okay, I'm going to leave it here, and of course I want this to dry again before I put my next coat on, which will be more highlight. This is called a Fire in Me. It's a weird name, Fire in Me. It's a #1, and it's a little tiny flat brush. And it's a great little brush. So what we're going to do is more of these highlights on this mountain now. So again, I'm just going into a lot of the medium, a touch of yellow, a touch of red, and a little bit of white. I'm going to have to play with my color here a bit to get exactly what I want, but I want more to the pinky red side. Let's try a little bit right here. Oh yeah. Yes, that's a pretty color. That's what I've got here. Just a yellow, red. I thought I might use blue, but I'm not going to be using it. And so we just want to go on the tops of these mountains, highlight in a few places. And I want to take that blender brush, just blend out the bottoms a little bit. I want this to just blend in softly. I don't want a bright highlight. This is just lightly just filling in just a little bit where I think I would see maybe some more highlight. See what I'm talking about? You can just lean on your painting now and it's not going to hurt anything because you've let these layers dry. So now we're going to start working on this background a little bit, and I'm going to start with the trees that are in front of the mountain. And I want you to notice while I do this, first of all, I'm using my hog brush, my mimic hog brush, my small filbert. If you don't have a small filbert, you could use a flat brush, or you could even try with a fan brush depending on the size of your canvas. But anyway, I want you to notice that while I'm doing these trees that I'm varying the height, and I'm also varying the color ever so slightly. I don't want all the same color, and I don't want everything real even. So just up and down, just putting in those background trees. And you know what? I'm going to change this. I mentioned earlier I'm going to change this, some of the things in this painting. Well, this is going to be one area that I'm going to change it. So notice how I'm making these trees really, really smaller towards the center. That's because that's where I want to make one of those changes. So now with that little 1/2 inch brush, I just want to blend out this bottom, just tap it out and make it kind of misty looking. I've added a little bit of white. I'm varying these heights a little bit more. This left side is going to be in front of the right side, the trees. And tap it out again, adding a little bit of white. And with that little 1/2 inch brush, just go ahead and just lift up the tips of those trees. That'll just kind of soften them and put them more into the background. Good, I like it. Still working on this foreground here. I want to add a little bit of land right there, or excuse me, a little bit of water. And so I'm just taking my color that I had originally and a touch of liquid. I put my liquid in a little container so that I can just dip into it. I don't know if you can even see it here. I've just got a little container. And it's just going to go back into the background here. And we'll just cover a lot of that up, but for right now, I'm just getting this in here. So now I have just a synthetic flat brush. This is about, probably a 1/2 inch one. And it's a little bit stiffer for a synthetic. It's not quite a bristle brush, but it is a little bit stiffer for a synthetic. And I really like the way this brush works. So go ahead. Now I want to just make a little bit of a bluish, brownish, greenish color. So we're going to do a little bit more foreground trees. So the color has to change ever so slightly. And I definitely want it deeper than the background trees, a darker color. So just make a color that you like. I've added a little bit of yellow ochre here to it. Coming up slightly higher than the background trees, because they would be more forward. So now I'm doing a close-up for you so you can see this a little bit better. And I'm just tapping and zigzagging back and forth on these trees, nothing too distinctive. I am varying the color some more. And just take this back into this land area here. want to draw your eye back into this little cove. Now more trees. And way back here, just little itty bitty tiny suggestions of trees. This is too far away to make anything distinctive. Just little tiny taps. And still vary your colors somewhat. Don't make them all exactly the same. You know, what's neat about making this kind of a video, I think, and being able to do this with all the different segments, when you watch this video, you will be able to, as soon as I get it done, you'll be able to go through and you'll be able to just click on any part of the video. I will have it all labeled out so you can go to, if you just want to do the mountain, you could just do the mountain. If you just wanted to look at trees, you could do that, or the water, whatever part, the sky, the clouds, whatever part of the video that you'd like to go to, you can just go right directly to it. And it's all according to the times, which will be listed. So yeah, it's a neat feature that YouTube has put on their channel. I really like it anyway. You know, it's funny, I put in, oh my gosh, you would not believe the hours I put into a painting, that these paintings that I do for you guys. And well, some of them are fairly short. I try and keep them within a half an hour. This one is going to be a very long one, way longer than my normal ones. And yeah, out of all that time I put in, and hours and hours and hours of editing, do you know, can you guess what the average view time is on one of my videos? Go ahead, just take a guess. Average view time. Well, this is a surprise. It's a surprise to me anyway. 3 to 5 minutes. And so that just amazes me. Now that doesn't mean everybody watches just 3 to 5 minutes of the video. That's over what, almost 35 or 36. I don't know how many thousand people I have following me, but whatever it is, some viewers will watch the whole video, and some will just watch maybe 30 seconds of it and then skip on to something else. So you never know what the viewer's going to do. But yeah, that just amazed me. The average time for viewing one of my videos is 3 to 5 minutes. Makes it all seem kind of worthless to put in all this time. So you can see, I hope you can see that, I put in that foreground just by using a variety of lighter green color and some browns, dark brown and light brown, to indicate little rocks and grasses. I love the way that turned out. And I've still got more to do that. We'll later on, we're going to be doing a little bit of reflections in the water. So now let's hop over to this big tree here, this right on the right side of the painting. I'm using a filbert brush here. And I'm just doing this like I do all my trees when I use a filbert brush, just back and forth, little tiny taps to start with, and then I start widening out the tree at the bottom. And my colors are a little bit darker now because I am more in the foreground. Now I have a lighter one here because that one I want to look like it's more in the distance. And let's bring this one down some more. I think that would be more interesting. I think I probably have some rock over here, like a cliff or something. It just looks like that's what needs to go there. Now this tree on the left-hand side, I want this tree really large. And so I'm taking it clear up to the top of the painting. Actually, I'll probably even make it a little bit larger than this in a little while. But make your evergreen however you want it, whatever color you want, however wide or tall you want. And this is more still just kind of roughing in. And let's have a little bit of a slant one here. I love making those evergreens. That's probably one of my favorite trees. And I like the way the undercoating, that brown underneath, I like the way that's coming through on these trees. And when we go to highlight these, that should really make it look good. Well, thank you to my sister who comes in and gives me little helps along the way here. She suggested bringing this little section of mountain a little more forward. So to do that, I'm going to take a little red, little blue, some white, and a lot of medium, a lot of liquid. I want this very, very thin. And you can do this more than once, this little light glaze. Yeah, I think that makes a nice difference. I wanted to do this before I went any further. What do you think? Do you think that looks better? I think it's going to. Okay, I'm going to interrupt this video because I made a really stupid mistake. I ruined my painting, literally. I mean, I really ruined it. And so I'm going to take you through and show you what happened, what I did that was so utterly stupid. And hopefully I share this with you because I don't want you to make this same mistake. So I'm going to take you through the process, what happened or what I did, and I won't make you suffer through the whole thing, but I will show you just little parts of it. Okay, let's go get started. So as you can see, I have horrible spots all over this canvas. What happened was it was a bit glazed. It was a little shiny when I put that glaze on the mist. And what happened was I read on the internet one way to combat that is to use sandpaper. So I took a very, 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 very fine sandpaper, and guess what? It took the finish right off the top because the canvas has tooth. So now I have to repair it. I'll get back with you and you can see what I do. Well, as you can see, I'm applying this dark sienna all over, just like I was starting this painting from the beginning. And because I want this brown to come through, because that was so pretty on the mountains here. And hopefully this is going to work. I don't know, if not, maybe I won't even show this video. But just going back to step one and basically starting all over again. And like I say, hopefully this is going to work. I'm not going to take you through this whole process because you've already seen it once. I guess I'll skip forward and let you know if it worked or not. Okay. Well, this is several days later, and I am pleased to tell you that this seems to be working. I am just so tickled pink after putting in so many hours on this painting, some days and weeks now. I am just thrilled that this does seem to be working. So I'm just going to continue on, and I'll get back with you later. So I have here a little ochre, light brown, blue, green, dark brown, and white. And I'm just making sort of a tree color. So brown and green and a little ochre. And we're going to start out down here with reflections. I'm going to zoom in a little bit so that you can get a better look at this. And also I'm speeding it up still a little bit because I know you've got more important things to do than watch this all day. However, you can skip along and just see whatever parts of this video you want to look at, which is really a nice thing. So I'm just, as I'm duplicating these trees, I want you to notice that the length down into the water is almost the same height as what the trees are. And I want to blur this out after I get it painted in. And I've used a little bit of liquid in this brown. And throughout this whole painting, with all the paint, I have added just a little bit of liquid, or sometimes a lot of liquid, just depending on what I'm doing. And the reason I just want this to speed up the drying time, because most of the time I'm letting it dry just a day in between. Every once in a while, if something comes up, I will go ahead and make it a little bit longer. I might leave it 2 or maybe even 3 days. So anyway, now down to these trees down here on the right-hand side, the bushes. I just want to darken these areas a little bit. And I'm going to start working on this cliff here. This wasn't originally my thought, but then I thought, when I looked at it, gee, that really does look like a cliff there. So I just think I'm just going to put one in. And so what I'm doing is just playing back and forth with my light colors, dark colors, and now I want to add just a little tiny bit of blue. I don't know why, I just like the blue in there. And now a little bit of a tan color. It's just burnt sienna, ochre, and white. And the blue is just Prussian blue and white. And I'm just kind of using a very small palette knife and just making little dabs here and there. Just I want it very rustic looking. And just darken a little bit of the area here. And with my little blender, I just want to blur that a slight bit. I love that little blender brush. You know, I got that on Amazon. I believe it was Amazon, and it was, oh my, it was like less than $1, I think, for that little blender brush. It's just made in China. It's a really cheap little thing, but wow, I love the way it works, and I love that it's so small. So now I'm putting in just sort of a medium green color. I've used Prussian blue and green and a little bit of white and brown. And I just want sort of a medium color in here. And added just like a few little dabs of that greenish color in the rock area. So now at the bottom of these bushes, I want to darken the color some. So it's just a darker green, just more blue, green, and brown. And at the top here, I want to use a little bit of a lighter color. So I've just added a little bit of ochre and white to that same color, just lightening it some. And now with some extra highlights, and this is just ochre and white, and this little scrubby brush that I'm using, oh man, I love this little brush. It just makes really great bushes. You can just be so precision with it and just make, they just look so real. To me, they do anyway. On the real painting, it's even better yet. It's so different than on the video than it is in the real painting. But as you can see, I'm leaving dark spaces and just kind of highlighting the top. Here I've changed the color to an ochre and red and white for highlighting. And we need to add just a couple of little limbs here and there. Good. And a touch more highlight here. Bring this up a little bit higher. And I'll probably change this some more too. I'm not done with it yet. And I love the way that brown, that burnt sienna comes through from the underpainting. Now working on that dirt color on the ground underneath. I just want to darken that up, make a bank out of it. And start your reflections. I'm just pulling straight down. I'm just using the tree colors. And over on this right-hand side in the lower water here, I want that to be really covered because that would, all that tree reflection would be showing. You know, one thing I'm really loving about this this painting is that I could just let it dry, and I love being able to do that and just relax and take my time with the painting rather than just hurrying so fast to get a painting done. I'm finding that it's so much more relaxing and rewarding painting this way. I don't know if I'll continue doing videos like this or not. Maybe. Not sure. Maybe. But I really am liking it a lot. So now adding a little yellow in those reflection areas from the bushes, and then just brush up first and then across, and always go from the right side to the center. You never want to start in the blue area because you might contaminate the water, and so that would not be good. Now with that little itty bitty knife, I just want to make a little bit of water line down at the base of these, at this base of the water, base of the land here, and with the bunny brush, just go ahead and blend it out. Perfect. So now let's go back up to these trees here. I'm going to do just a little more refining. This still is not the final coat, but it's getting closer. Adding a little bit of a lighter yellow color to the tree on the far right hand side, just for a little bit of highlight. And this one, let's just bring that up just a little bit higher and branch it out just a little bit more. I think it needs to have maybe a fuller look. And I'm just using that that hog filbert brush and just making little flicks, just kind of like little flicks outward. Just extending those branches some. I am so liking the way this is turning out. And through this process now, I've not shown you the times that I've taken off and let the painting dry, but I have taken breaks in between and let it dry overnight quite a few times. I figured you're probably getting tired of seeing those signs, right? Maybe not, I don't know. They do help, but just know that I'm doing that. I'm not painting straight through all in one session. And we're going to lighten this one, that tree, this one here a little bit more. I think I might even tint that a little bit more brown just so it looks a little bit different shade. And still just a few more highlights on the left-hand side here. So I stood back and I looked at this painting for a while and I thought, there's something that I just don't like about this. And so I thought, there's some corrections that I want to make. First of all, I think the distant trees are a little too distant. They're too far back. So what I want to do is bring that land up a little bit closer. And the best way that I know to do that is just to make these trees a little bit larger. That'll push the mountain back and bring the land, that center area, a little bit more forward. So that's what I'm doing now. To do this, I'm just going to repeat the same steps that I did before. And I'm just putting in these trees again, only I'm making them a little bit taller. Now you noticed I had the mist in there before. And so I'm definitely going to have to put that back in again. But I think bringing these trees forward will make a nice big difference. So I'm just using my same colors, my brown, green, maybe a little blue, a little red, just tree colors. And I'm also varying the size and the color and the intensity of the color so that some are a little bit lighter and some are darker. I'm just going to let you watch while I do this. I've got this on fast forward speed still because I know it takes a long time to watch this, but I don't necessarily want you to miss any of the steps for those of you that might be interested in seeing what I'm really doing and how to make a correction. That's a nice thing about painting this way is you can make these corrections over and over. You can just cover up anything you don't like. You can add anything that you want to add, and it just works out really great. So just adding these little distant trees now. And you can see I've even changed the shape a little bit. And just a slight touch up here on this land. And then I also want to touch up this rock because I thought, it just doesn't have enough depth and character to it. And so I'm adding some dark brown in a couple of areas here just to intensify the color. Because it is closer, so it would be a little bit deeper. And I don't like this little point here. I thought that when I looked at this from a distance, I thought, boy, that island just does not fit right there. So what do? We just take it out and start over again. So what I did is just add the water back in. I just matched the color as best I could. And so now I also want to intensify the reflections in the water a little bit. Because they kind of got faded. Now that looks good. So let's go on to just touching up a little bit of the rock here. I want to just make a little more definition and brighten just a couple of these areas here. And I want to add a little bit of blue back into this rock here. It's not a real dark blue, but just kind of a pastel blue. I just think the blue in the rock is very pretty. And now I also need to put back the mist in the mountain. So, and I did wait a day before I've started this mist. I let everything really dry. Maybe it was even 2 days. Let everything dry. And now I'm just adding that mist. It's just a white, a little red, and a little Prussian blue. And a touch, just a touch of liquid, just to thin it out a very slight bit. I'm starting out by going in between the trees because that's where I want it to show the most. And I'm just a real soft blend on this. I'm not pressing very hard, and I don't have a lot of paint on the brush either. I really wiped the brush, kind of wiped it off before I actually went in and started messing with it. So a little bit of mist here in this back mountain. And this is really coming along nice. I actually think I might like this mountain even better than the previous one that I did before I had my big mistake, my big boo-boo. And a little more intense white right down here, or light mist area down here. Okay. Okay, with this really, really old scrubby brush, I'm just making a very dark green color. This is going to be the base of my bushes. I'm going to use several shades of green here, but I'm starting out with this dark green in the darkest area of these bushes. And when I'm doing this, I want you to notice I'm not totally covering all that brown. I'm leaving some of that brown to show through. I really love the effect that that makes. Just a couple of little bushes here and there. Now your bushes might be different than mine, but I'm just picking out some here. Kind of just going by what I see in the painting. I don't have anything definite in mind. It's just mix-mash. So now I've lightened the color just by adding a little yellow ochre to that green, just lightening the shade a little bit, so it's sort of a medium shade of green, and just tapping and blending down into the dark. I don't want to cover the dark, I just want to blend into it lightly. And now with this little flat brush, I want to start darkening this rock formation in the background here. I just thought this looked like a perfect place for that. I didn't want to make it all bushes. I thought this was a perfect place for some rocks to come down off the cliff, or the hillside, or whatever you want to call it. And this is Van Dyke brown, just a dark color. And a rock over here also. And now back to that scrubby brush. I'm just lightening that color some more, making a light green, and just by adding more yellow ochre and just a tiny bit of white. Just to highlight that a little bit more. So now I've got 3 shades of green so far. Just blend that down into the medium green. And now I've added a little bit of red and ochre, just for a difference, just for a little variation of color. And now I want to highlight even a little bit more. I'm just using cad yellow and white. Just a little bit here and there on the tops of some of the bushes. And back here, just more ochre and white. So it's a slightly different shade. Now I want to take brown and white and just make a little variegated marble mix. This is for the stones. I want this to be very, very, very rustic looking, so I'm just barely touching the canvas. I'm just lightly touching it, just letting a little bit of paint come off here and there. And now I'm using the light blue and white just to highlight in a few places a little bit more. I almost thought maybe this would be a great place for a waterfall. I don't know, maybe I'll make that into a waterfall. I haven't decided, but I kind of like the way it's looking. This has been such a fun painting to do so far. So now I'm highlighting this back rock here, adding a little bit of that bluish white. That could even be a second little waterfall coming out there. I don't know what I'll do yet. Anyway, back to the bushes. You should be getting the hang of the routine now, using your variety of colors and just placing them wherever you think they would look good. Now I have just a kind of a lighter green color. I'm just lightly going over this front part of the rock here, or the hillside I should say, cliff, hillside, whatever it is. And now I want to go into my dark green, so I've added some dark brown to my green along with a little blue and a touch of crimson. And I'm just lightly blending this out into the other color. And I want to also start developing this land underneath here. Now see, notice this time I'm using a filbert brush. That's because I wanted to have a little bit different look on these front bushes than what's in the back. I like the way the filbert brush does bushes. So now changing the color a little bit, so now I have sort of a medium green color. And you'll just have to develop out your bushes however you think they should be, wherever you think they should be. Mine, I've just got these 3 clumps here. I think that's going to be perfect. And just blend that medium into the dark green. And with a little bit lighter color, always go up above, starting out actually where there is no paint, and then just gradually coming down into where there is paint. So this is a lighter green, just adding more yellow and white. And now a little bit of ochre and white to that color, so that this bush is a different color, different shade. Underneath here, notice I'm using that small filbert brush now. I want to start developing some rock area, just little stones in the water, close to the water's edge. I'm using a dark brown on the bottom on the underside of the brush, and then a yellow ochre and a white on the upper side of the brush. And I just put my brush in with the brown, dark brown side down, and just twist the brush a little bit to give that rounded appearance. And make sure to vary your stones so you have all different sizes. You don't want them all to be identical. And now with that filbert brush, I want to make the reflections in the water from the trees up above. So I'm just filling this in, and then look and see where your trees are up above, and then try to duplicate that down below. And a little reflection here and here. And with my blender brush, I just want to lightly come across that water and just blend it out, just kind of mesmerize it. Now I've taken my knife, I've got just a little bit of bluish and whitish color on the knife along with a little liquid to thin the paint out so I can make these little water lines. And with the blender brush, I also want to just lightly blend out these rocks, just to blur it some. And I also want to add a little bit of darkness underneath these rocks. Now it's time to start on those big trees. So I've picked out a sort of a medium shade of green for this back, this tallest tree here. And I'm using that angle brush, this Susan Shiwi angle brush. I like the way that brush works for trees. And my sun is not coming for any particular direction, so I have most of my light, my highlight, right in the front, in the center of the tree. And I'll probably add more to this later. And be sure when you're working on these trees, use different shades of green. And now just defining that trunk a little bit more. And I just want to have a couple of little dead limbs. Well, can you believe we are almost done with this tutorial? It's taken a really long time. Gosh, this is going to be a couple hours by the time I'm done. But now we're at the final end and the fun part, at least I think it is. For me it is. And that's the final highlights. I love the final highlights. So first thing I did was make a whole list of corrections that I wanted to do, and I wrote them down on a piece of paper. And now, one by one, I'm just going to go through them. And I'm pretty much going to go through them just the same as I did the painting, starting with the furthest area away first and working my way forward. So the first thing I'm doing is working on the clouds. I want to highlight just a few areas in those clouds just to make them shine and be brighter, but just a little bit brighter, a little bit nicer. And the next thing I'm doing is going on to my mountains. Now I'm using a variety of brushes here. My gosh, by the time I finish this painting, I have used almost 30 different brushes. And so that's why I haven't given you any names or sizes, or not very much anyway. I've just basically told you what I'm using and let you go use the brush according to the size of painting that you're doing. So anyway, that's a lot of brushes. And you know another thing? I have gone through hardly any paint at all. I'm just amazed how this method of painting just uses so little paint. And I think a lot of that's due to the liquid that you're using, because it is diluting the paint a little bit, making it thinner and, you know, spread much easier. And it's so nice. I love using this liquid. So anyway, what do I think of this painting? I am loving it. I am totally loving the technique. I am totally loving how slow it goes and how you can take your time and just do a section at a time and not have any problems at all, especially with working dry on wet, or excuse me, wet on dry. I love working wet on dry because it just is so much easier to do than wet on wet, because you don't get all that mud mixing. And that's something I know so many of my viewers have just a terrible time with, is just mixing mud. Like for example, on these trees, when you try to paint one color over another, it just turns to mud. So this is really nice. You let the undercoat dry, then you go to the next coat and you put that on, you let that dry, and then you go to the next coat. And I'll tell you, I'll be using this technique, excuse me, I'll be using this technique again for sure. And I don't know how soon, but you know, summer's here and I've got things to do this summer, especially with church. I'm very involved in church activities right now, and so probably not going to be doing too many videos up in the near future, but at least you'll be able to enjoy this one. So let's see, what do I want to tell you? Okay, doing these highlights, basically what I'm doing is just using the same color as the previous color that I used in whatever area that I'm working on. And I am using just a slight bit lighter color along with the liquid to just bring out these highlights in the various places. And this technique just works just so well. I just encourage everyone to try it at least once. Just do maybe one painting. If you can find one simple painting that you would like to do, I think you'll find it very rewarding. So now I'm just going back and forth to the different areas and just picking out the highlights that I want to show the brightest. And like I said, I'm using the Liquin with every brush stroke. Every little bit of paint I pick up has a little bit of Liquin in it. I'm just contemplating on what kind of a painting I might want to do next. I don't know. This has just been so educational for me, learning this whole new technique. And I don't know, I think everybody should try it. Like I say, everybody should try it at least once. So, and I'm very tickled with the mountain and the way that turned out and the final results on that. I just am real pleased. I didn't think it was going to. I was really leery about it. But starting out from scratch, you know, after that boo-boo I made, starting out from scratch using that dark brown underneath just really, really made a big difference. Had I not used that dark brown under there, I think it would have not turned out the same at all. So as you can see now, I'm just dabbing a little bit of the reds in there. I want to bring out more color. It definitely needs a few little highlight spots of color. Green is nice, yellow is nice, but it also needs a little bit of red. You know, red and green are complementary to each other, and so I guess that's why Christmas, huh? We have a lot of green and red during Christmas and during fall. So now I'm working my way forward, and I'm into the rocks, and I'm using just a small brush. I've got a small flat brush, and I'm just picking out various highlights in the rocks. I'm just using a lighter color than what I used before, which is red, yellow, and white. And I'm just blending that together, and now I want to bring in some dark areas into those spots. By hitting those dark and light areas, that even brings it more to life, brings it more forward. And this back rock here too, this cliff, definitely I thought it needed some darkening in some of the areas, but just to make it a little bit more vibrant. And then of course I have to go over to this one too, because it also needed to have some darker areas. I decided, I thought about doing the waterfall, but I decided I really like the rock formation, so maybe I'll do a waterfall in another one. And this is the way, way, way in the background. I'm not doing very much back here because I went to a lot of work to pastel that out. So now I'm just going in and hitting a little bit of the highlight areas and a little bit of the dark areas. I'm just using a small flat brush. And this trunk also needs some highlighting, just a little bit wider trunk, especially on this bigger tree here. And of course I have to have the birds. I have to have the birds. I just love birds. They just bring a painting to life. They put some life into it. If you don't want the birds, however, don't do it. But at least with this technique, letting it dry first, you can take them out if you don't like them. And this is the final painting, the finished painting. Like I said, I am very, very pleased with it. Yes, I would do it again, and I encourage you to try it. So until I see you again next time, have a wonderful summer. Bye-bye.